Hi, this is Randall here in Texas.
And I'm Matt, here in Michigan. Today, Randall and I are doing a horror film from 1984. We're taking a look at A Nightmare on Elm Street. It stars Heather Langenkamp, Johnny Depp, John Saxon, Ronnie Blakely, and of course, Robert Englund. It is written and directed by Wes Craven, also known for Scream movies, and the original The Hills Have Eyes. Now, before Randall and I go any further, if you like this review, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications on our latest videos.
A Nightmare on Elm Street follows a group of teenagers who are all having nightmares about the same creep. When one of them ends up violently murdered, everyone else finally sees that the person they've been dreaming about, Freddy, is in fact real. It had about a $1.8 million budget and grossed about $57 million. Gonna do some inflation numbers for this one though. That's about a $4.7 million budget and a $150 million box office return. Not a bad return on investment. Turns out that this was New Line Cinema's first commercial success. It had very favorable reviews from both critics and reviewers, and of course, created a whole film franchise. There are 6 primary films in the franchise, this one and 5 direct sequels. There's one pseudo-sequel, also directed by Wes Craven, New Nightmare, one crossover with Jason, and of course, the 2010 reboot attempt of this series, and I just found out today, even a TV series. So to say that Freddy and A Nightmare on Elm Street is iconic might be a little bit of an understatement even. But Matt, looking back on 1984's original film, what did you think?
So me, I'm not one for spooky movies, but one thing I do like iconic horror film villains. And to me, this is my most iconic, at least slasher villain, Freddy Krueger. I really like Freddy Krueger. I mean, as a kid, this movie, spooked me and stuff, but, now watching it older, I think I chuckle a little bit more at some of the things that happen in this movie than actually being scared. But, for a movie of its time, 1984, I enjoy it. I still think it's a pretty fun movie. What about you, Randall?
As a movie of its time, it's excellent. You look at it and you're like, oh, wow, it's crazy what they were able to do on that budget. I think if I look at it from, today's perspective, yes, the acting is the weakest point in the entire film.
I've got something better. I'm going to get her some help.
You almost cringe at the acting in this, except for Robert Englund, who nails Freddy, obviously. The story and the concepts, though, the idea of the film and how scary it is and all the potential themes that could go into it, that is what really holds up well, even today. And, of course, got to get on my soapbox and say, not all of them, but most of them, the practical effects definitely stand the test of time, mostly. Better than almost any, late 90s, early 2000s CGI cartoon stuff that was happening. This looks better, mostly.
And it's funny, mostly those other times are a little bit head scratchers. I was kind of wondering, the first time we see Freddy, why does he have the really long, arms that you can see are clearly just someone, holding on to, boards or whatever inside, long sleeves? What's the point of that? And also, of course, the phone where we get, the mouth, the mouthpiece actually turning into a mouth with a tongue kind of thing or whatever. It's just kind of oh my goodness. And those are parts of the movie where, like I was saying in the intro, where I am just kind of chuckling more than actually being scared. But there's other parts, I would say they're more iconic to this movie that are really good scenes and a little bit different. Of course, we have, the spandex or whatever wall. I mean, that's how they made it, is you use the spandex. But you basically get, Freddy going through, the wall or whatever. I think that's an awesome shot. And also, of course, you can't go, on Freddy Krueger without mentioning, the tub scene, which they actually recreated in the remake or whatever, the movie as well, too. Those are scenes that are really well done that, definitely stand the test of time.
I'll go one further. The two friends who are murdered violently, the very first death and Johnny Depp's death, those scenes have aged really well, except for like the slashing, like when they actually show the cuts on the girl, those don't age well, but like seeing her like getting flung around the room, and then in Johnny Depp's case, the like just crazy explosion of blood, which you can see how it was filmed if you just look. It's like, all right, the room's upside down and everything. So obviously they're using gravity, but it doesn't matter. It's such a cool shot. Those have aged really well, but yeah, right there with you. You know, the accordion arms were crazy, but I'll give them this. It didn't matter because they said, you know what? Everything's a dream. So even if it's too crazy and it looks kind of silly, it's okay because we can do whatever we want inside of this dream world.
And that's what's kind of interesting too. I mean, I guess if you really want to go like deep into it, you kind of think like, well, how much of this movie is like a dream within a dream kind of thing? Like, how often are our characters actually dreaming in this movie? Yeah, to go back on like the dialogue and stuff, I think one of the weakest parts for me was kind of like, you know, Nancy and her mom kind of thing. Like,
feel better? You call this feeling better?
That kind of relationship and like the interaction that they have between each other with like different scenes and stuff. And in general, you know, how they, you know, make Nancy's mom as someone who, I guess, you know, can't handle like the decision that she made to kill Freddy and stuff, and but just goes into like an alcoholic, and they're basically just trying to explain everything with like, well, she's just into the drink kind of thing. I think that character could have been a little bit more dynamic and could have been a lot more interesting and pivotal to this movie.
Yeah, her mother character could have been better. I do like, though, John Saxon, who's, you know, a very prolific character actor. His character as, like, the separated father was pretty well done. He cares a lot for his daughter, and of all the actors outside of, you know, England, he does the best with his role, even if the script definitely lets it down.
Tell me who did it. I'll go get him, baby.
The mom, yeah, absolutely. You're like, wow, that's an unhealthy relationship. Wouldn't she be better off with her dad? Oh, you know, he's kind of a workaholic, and you know that's probably why she's with the mom. So kind of that broken family thing, which just goes back into, my God, the themes in this movie, Matt. Where do you start? You can just sit and pick the movie apart and say, well, there's a theme, this idea of, you know, the closeness between reality and dream worlds, and oh no, Nancy's from a broken family, and or these only happens to teenagers, so it's all of this trauma of being a teenager. That, you know, like, just pick a theme. That's a small selection of them. And then you get to see like why the movies age so well, even if the sequels like quickly go into, now we're a slasher film now, we don't care about any of these heady themes that we originally talked about. This original film, the themes are crazy.
And I think, too, it does so well with the other, you know, 70s, 80s slasher films and stuff, too. Picking up on all the, you know, not themes, but, I don't know, maybe some of the tropes and stuff, as you say, too. And that's one of my big point on, like, especially for its time, like, 84. Like, if we made this movie, like, today, just as is, as, like, presented, I don't know how well it would really come off. I don't know. Maybe it would be just like, oh, this is paying a good homage to, you know, the 70s, 80s, you know, slasher films and stuff. Because we do see quite a few of the same, you know, tropes and stuff that we see in, like, you know, Friday the 13th and the Halloween films and stuff, too. So, yes, I think, you know, this movie definitely fits well with that. And, you know, going with that, you know, looking at this movie through that lens or whatever, it's still a good movie to enjoy.
I mean, there's a reason they're called tropes, you know.
Trope. A common or overused theme or device.
It's interesting. I was talking in a completely unrelated conversation with my wife about this. Not this movie in general, but like just classic, iconic characters and iconic movies. Just because they're iconic doesn't mean they're good all the time. If you go back and you watch like John Carpenter's original, you know, Halloween, you're like, oh, you know, that hasn't aged particularly well, in my opinion. It's okay. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Or the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not good. I'm sorry. I've watched it and I'm just like, that movie sucks. I don't know how anyone ever saw it was good. But I think Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those films that gets over that hump. Even if you watch it today, and you do recognize it was made in '84, there's a lot of good here. The movie stands the test of time much better than a lot of the contemporary slasher films of the time did, which kind of started out just being slashers. And then Nightmare on Elm Street says, we're a slasher film, but we have all this other stuff going on. And then we're going to devolve into the nothing but tropes, over-the-top killing slasher sequels, basically. This movie does an excellent job with that.
I was joking with you, Rand, a little bit off screen or whatever, how this movie kind of turns into Home Alone there near the end or whatever. But as you pointed out, technically, Home Alone is taken from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Well, it's kind of interesting, too, having Nancy, like, in a short amount of time, setting up all these different traps and stuff in her house. It'd be one thing if we have, like, general time in this movie, but no, we have actual times in this movie. It's like, hey, meet me, telling Johnny Depp's character, hey,
Just meet me at my porch at midnight.
Right before midnight is when the stuff happens to Johnny Depp. So, the police are already there, they're already investigating, they're already looking at the gruesome scene, and Nancy is telling her dad, like, hey, Dad, be sure to help me, fight Freddy or whatever at, like...
That'll be exactly midnight.
And it's like, dude, all that happened in that short amount of time, and Nancy was able to set up all those traps. I mean, granted, she just read the trap book, 15, 20 minutes earlier in the film or whatever. I mean, in real time, hours before. But, it's like, man, I guess she had it really fresh in her mind. But she really went to town making all those traps there at the end.
Yeah, I think that was funny. She does. She tells her dad, be here in 20 minutes, knocking down the door. I'm going to go to sleep, and I don't know. I'm not the best at. I'm terrible at sleeping. Okay, I'll just put it out there. I'm pretty awful at it. Couldn't possibly set all those traps up and go to sleep, But then again, she had at that point been up for like 4 or 5 days or something like that. So maybe she just did pass out. Like, I'm gonna set all these traps up and then go to sleep for 5 minutes. That wouldn't get her into REM sleep, though, would it? You know what? Don't think about it too much. Just don't think about it too hard.
And as I was going to, I mean, maybe you think about through the lenses, like maybe she is dreaming this whole time anyway. So time doesn't matter. A whole lot of things don't matter kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of like an easy, cop-out kind of thing. But at the same time, too, I mean, the movie kind of hints that could be a possibility as well. Maybe all these things that were like, kind of like, oh, this movie shows age, it's just the fact that we don't understand that's all in the dream world.
It's fine. You can watch You can watch the Dream Warriors. The 5. I think it's 5. I don't think that there's a single version, a single other slasher horror film series that devolves as quickly as the Nightmare on Elm Street. They're just like, yeah, the first one was great. Just keep on pumping them out, and people will come, and it immediately goes into just schlock. I mean, the second movie's like Freddy's Revenge. And you're like, Freddy's Revenge against 2! Didn't he get his revenge in the last movie? Didn't that happen already?
Dude, because Freddy is such a, great character or whatever, like you said, people just put him out and people go see or whatever. And that's why even after we had a recent reboot, even though that didn't involve more sequels or whatever, I think we'll probably will have another reboot of Freddy coming soon just because, it is Freddy. And people are going to go see Freddy. And with all the other remakes that we've had so far, or continuations, or however you want to say it, I can't see Freddy not coming back soon.
Depends on how busy Rob Zombie is, okay? Oh, yeah. But you know what? Matt and I are super interested to know your guys' thoughts, feelings, memories about the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. So let us know down in the comments below. And don't forget to go check out our YouTube page. We have other Flashback movie reviews. We got new movie reviews. We talk about some TV shows, and we have some deeper dive discussions.
Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page. We post a lot of different posts on our fandoms and stuff. We also post a day before our videos come out to let you know what the topic of our next video is going to be. If you can't make it over to our Facebook page, just head over to our YouTube page. We have videos that come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Matt, here in Michigan. Have a good day.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.